Part of the reason that the first season of Andor was such a success was because of how dark and gritty it felt compared to the other Star Wars stories. It wasn't rated R, but it's pretty much the closest we've ever gotten to it on screen. But there are still some fans that want Star Wars to go darker. We've had moments, many of them centered around Darth Vader, but we've never gotten a true, dark, violent, horror-esque Star Wars project on screen. However, a few years ago, this almost came to fruition. James Mangold, who is currently the director behind the upcoming Dawn of the Jedi Star Wars movie, was actually approached a while back to work on another Star Wars movie. In an interview with Josh Horowitz on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Mangold revealed that he was working on a Boba Fett feature film for Disney and Lucasfilm that was a bit more mature than other projects in the franchise. It didn't follow the typical family-friendly space adventure style of other Star Wars movies. Instead, he described it as much more of a borderline rated R kind of spaghetti western that took place on a single planet. Boba Fett made his return to the Star Wars universe in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, before going on to star in a series of his own, The Book of Boba Fett, which followed the former bounty hunter taking over the criminal underworld on Tatooine. There was a split reaction to the series among fans, in part due to how connected it felt to The Mandalorian, and as well as the direction the character was taken. If this movie did happen, it probably would have been in place of the series, but with a much different story behind it, since at the time the Mandoverse was probably not in development, at least not with the involvement of Boba Fett in mind. With Mangold describing his idea for the movie as a spaghetti western, and where Boba Fett's story left off at the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine, I assume the movie still would have been set on Tatooine, but the idea of a near R rating means that the action was probably much more graphic. A common complaint with the Book of Boba Fett was how it develops the character beyond his bounty hunter roots, showing him older, wiser, and in a way less badass when it came to the action. I personally enjoyed how he as a character was developed, because it makes sense for falling into a Sarlacc pit to be a life-defining moment that causes a person to confront themselves, and take a look in the mirror and change. But this way the movie is described, it seems as though it would have gone heavily focused on the action, and showing more of Boba Fett's abilities that we didn't get to see as much in the original trilogy. Other than the fight above the Sarlacc pit, he doesn't do much other than walk around menacingly, so this would have been a way to flesh out the character, maybe as an anti-hero or a straight-up villain. However, with Disney only acquiring Lucasfilm just over 5 years before this was reportedly being developed, an R-rating movie would never have made it to theaters. Mangold might have been able to get away with some mature themes and R-rated elements, but it probably would have had to stay PG-13. Mangold went on to say in the interview that the box office failure of Solo was a main reason for the idea being scrapped, as well as the opportunities presented by streaming. I think it's sad how profound an impact the financial failure of Solo has had on the stories that are and aren't developed further. The movie is widely praised among fans, but because of when it was released in theaters, as well as poor marketing on Lucasfilm's part, the financial gain wasn't there, which has led to no continuation of the story following Han, Kira, or Crimson Dawn. We haven't gotten any non-Skywalker Saga films since then, and many character-focused movies, like this one that would have been about Boba Fett, have been left on the shelf. And who knows how many of the announced movies and shows, like Lando and Rogue Squadron, would have been put into production if Solo hadn't performed so poorly, giving them the idea that it's not financially profitable and not what fans want. However, with some of the recently announced movies, it does seem like Lucasfilm is willing to stretch their wings again and expand to different eras and characters on the big screen. Would you have wanted to see this Boba Fett movie? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.